Hello, everyone. This is Matthew Brand, author of Magnum Creed, and this is Detroit Mithras, episode 10. I think moving forward, I'm going to try and change the name of the channel to Magnum Creed to try to hone the brand a little bit more. And also moving forward, I'm going to try to be a little bit more authentic, a little bit more myself, not just going to rant and just kind of provide a little bit more information, be a little bit more useful on the channel. The reason is not that I never wanted to be more. I do like to rant or whatever. It helps get the information or the content out, I guess I should say. But also, there are more things that I want to provide, but I used to like to leave them in my books and articles and stuff that I publish. However, a lot of times, and that's why I made this, was because some of the things that I do write, by the time I ghostwrite, by the way, and by the time they get through the article and someone edited it or someone changes it to say what they wanted to say, the information doesn't really get out there. So I made this channel to kind of put that out there, but there are more things that I feel like I could branch out and be more useful. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I can be of some use. And if it leases some sales, great. If it doesn't, maybe it'll help just one, a few people at least. And that's all I can help for. It's like a seed, and then eventually it grows something and benefits somebody's lives. But moving on, I want to kind of talk about do I ever think there should be any gun laws? Some people ask me that because I'm very pro gun. And that's what my that little book Magnum Creed was about, right? I was very pro gun, pro freedom. I believe that freedom is a much better answer than like extra laws that hurt things. But do I ever believe in any gun laws, right? Well, so besides the laws that we kind of already have, like in Michigan, right? I think Michigan is a really good example of good gun laws because you don't see too much going on. I think in exchange for pretty much not having any gun-free zones, I think I would say that 18-year-olds should be able, 18 to 25-year-olds should have to go through a much stricter gun licensing process. And it's not that I think they should like have to go through a waiting process for their gun or have to get special permission from the government to own the gun, but I think their licensing process should be a little more strict than the kind of licensing process they have now for a 21-year-old. I don't think they should have to register their gun and do all that kind of stuff, but I do think there should be a much stricter licensing process. The reason being is that a lot of 21 to, I'm sorry, yeah, no, you can own a gun at 18. But from 18 to 25, I don't think a lot of people who own guns at that age, they don't face a lot of responsibility in general. And it's also the age that you're likely to go through not the most emotional trauma or the harshest emotional trauma, but it's the age that you're less wise enough to deal with it, right? Like you haven't necessarily had, and especially in this time period where we have so many single parents out there, right? Or broken homes. We have a lot of them. And you don't always have the wisdom that life moves on after you go through like a bad breakup or a death or something like that. Some people don't have that experience, and it's very sad and hurtful for them. And they feel like the sun doesn't come out tomorrow. And sometimes it's wisdom that tells you that the sun comes out tomorrow, but they don't have that yet. And I don't fault them for it, but I do think sometimes we should give them some type of extra, mature, like, checks for maturity when we're looking for people that age to hold a gun. Now, I'm not anti them holding guns, and I don't think they should be registered. I don't think they shouldn't be allowed, but extra licensing from 18 to 25. And after the year 25, then, whatever the same regular rules that we have now should apply. When you look at these younger people, a lot of them, they're in school, right? They're in school. They don't have a house, they don't have kids, they don't have things they're responsible for, they don't know any better. And they also believe a lot of things, and they also react a little bit too fast. So if we put those kind of laws in place, I think it would reduce the amount of suicides by a lot, right? It's young people a lot of times who commit these suicides, and it's people who are very hurt a lot of times that commit these suicides, and they feel there's no like other way out. It's people who have, they feel like they have a lot to lose, um, and nothing to gain. And people who are older typically have gone through that. And it's also more of a tragedy when people that age commit suicide. I'm not saying it's not a tragedy when people over 25 commit suicide, but let's face it, people under 25 are basically older teenagers now. They're in college, they're young, they're still figuring out life, and they haven't really gone into even their own workforce yet. Like, they haven't pursued their own career. So that all being said, I think 18 to 25. Now, my issue, the reason I'm against this is because anytime a law is passed, a lot of crap gets added on. Right, that's what people mean when there's a slippery slope. You pass one, you think a law is going to get passed that says one thing, and a bunch of garbage gets added on to it, and next thing you know, okay, all a bunch of rights got taken away, and the people are getting arrested for relatively no reason. What would you do? Okay, you pass this law that says, you think it's supposed to say, right? That's why I don't like red flag laws, right? You think it's supposed to say, oh, well, if you help this person with the love, if you love this person and you call the police and the police would show up and, kindly, remove the guns and to make sure they're okay and then give the guns back, once they get checked out. That sounds like that's what the law is passed is supposed to sound like. But really what happens is they storm in with a SWAT team, knock you on the ground, and sometimes it could even be undercover cops. The person fights back because they think someone's breaking in their house, and then they get shot, right? Or they shoot the police officer, and then whether they live or die after that, their life is over. Um, that's the reality of that. And so that's why, even though I'm like, okay, well, from the age of 18 to 25, there should be stricter licensing. Then you get to the point where, okay, there's stricter licensing, but now you have to go through and check in with the sheriff's office, and then the sheriff decides if they want you to have a gun or not. And then the mayor doesn't want people having guns, so then the sheriff's department feels like they have to, or not feels like that, but they are being pressured to deny everybody or make it as difficult as possible for these people to get a gun. Or there's somebody who politically opposes the law and their life is made more difficult, so they just they blacklist them and don't give them a gun even though they've never did anything. They're just politically in opposition to that kind of stuff, and they're trying to expose what goes on. And I'm saying this because I've seen this. You have people who, there are areas in this country where you have to go to the police station and have an interview with a police officer, and then the police officer decides whether or not they want you to have a gun. And that's just stupid. You get what I'm saying? And then the police are like, there's no review or a copy or a record of the police officer's conversation to even establish whether they just are effing with the person or not. Like, this is why we don't have those kind of laws. And this is why I would never try to vote or pass a trial law. Even though I would think that law in place would be good, I would never vote for something because there's always some crap tied to it that they don't want you to know about, right? Oh, you can have this thing, but there will be no more semi-automatics, right? Like, you can have a gun as long as it's not a semi-automatic, right? Or you can have a gun as long as it doesn't hold more than 3 rounds, right? Now then it gets too stupid, right? You can have 18 to 25-year-olds can apply for a license for a gun that only holds 1 round, right? Like a single shot or like a 2-round Derringer, right? They can have those kind of guns. Or you can't have a gun with a caliber anything bigger than a 22 long rifle or a 35 ACP. This is the thing that get attached to these type of laws. So even though I think that would be a beneficial law, right? 25-year-old people or younger can't have a law. Sorry, can't have a firearm without extra licensing. I don't think that law would ever be passed to any great benefit with the kind of bureaucracy that we have. This is because politicians make their money by providing favors. And in order to provide favors, they have to make stuff illegal unless the favor is then provided. So then you have someone who benefits, right? Some government organization, for example, like silencers, right? In order to have a silencer, you have to pay the ATF or whoever a few $1,000s for the right to own it, right? They're not going to go through everything in your life, right? They don't really care. They want your money. So then you pay a few $1,000s and then you can have a silencer or you can have a sawed off shotgun or you can have whatever the case may be. Then you can have these things. But if you have it without that special licensing, you go to jail or prison, get all your rights revoked. And for what? Right? Like, were you doing anything bad with it? Probably not. Most likely not. Who would want? Why would you even carry around a giant silencer to do something bad? It doesn't make guns silent, right? It's not like the movies where you put this silencer on this, regular size gun and then it goes like, and it just makes this whisper of a sound. That's not true. It just goes from sounding like a giant ear bursting firecracker to a regular firecracker. Everybody, the whole neighborhood can hear it. It's just not exploding your eardrums in the process. And I am totally for not exploding your eardrums in the process. So, I mean, especially with practice and stuff like that, right? The more you practice, the more efficient you can be, the more you're less likely to hurt others, whatever. And this, so silencers are good for that, but it's dumb to not want people to attach a silencer to a regular gun and think because they think it's going to make turn it into a whisper or something like that. But yet there is this law that makes people have to pay extra money to get the silencer because they tricked a lot of people into thinking it's dangerous. And guess what? You can still get one. Almost anyone could probably get one as long as they had the money. And that's where the issue comes in. It's pay to play. So whenever these laws get passed, it's pay to play. And I feel like that's what the licensing, like if they made it so that people under 25 needed extra licensing, it would just become pay to play. And God knows what other stupid crap they would tack on to that kind of law. So, but since people ask, that would be my honest opinion, right? Like in a perfect world, if we could just pass that kind of law, it would be beneficial, but it wouldn't be passed without some other BS or, without trying to drag other people in the mud. It's just that kind of thing. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. And I hope moving forward, as I switch this over to straight up Magnum Creed, excuse me for saying so much, but as I switch this up to Magnum Creed, I hope that I can provide better and more information. I'm going to try to switch to business as I start Magnum Creed, but and I'm still going to be talking about guns. I'm going to be talking about love. I'll be talking about politics and stuff like that. I want to provide as much information as possible to help people become successful in their life, but I also want to like voicing my opinions and speaking my mind, and I want to find a balance between that. Right now, I've been mostly speaking my opinions, and I haven't been providing much useful info for people to help benefit their lives more. And I want to do that a lot more than I want to just, voice my opinions. I do think opinions matter, and the reason I did that was because when I first wrote Magnum Creed, I came under a lot of backlash, and I mentioned this in the book. I came out a lot of backlash when people found out that I owned a gun. They felt like that for general reasons, and things that normal people would say and do and whatever. Now all of a sudden that became like demonized, and other people found it fascinating. Right? They wanted to know more. Right? Like they came, was like, oh. You tell me more about this and tell me more about that, and a lot of people don't know. And I noticed that as a matter of fact, the people who seem and I know this sounds terrible, but the people who seem to know the least about, not least about guns. Sorry, that's not true whatsoever. Um, but the people who seem to have the most limited view on guns are the people who sell them, because it's a hammer kind of thing, right? They mostly sell, like for example, a lot of people mostly sell 9 millimeter. So where it seems like gun people who own gun shops or sell a lot of guns, they seem to be very knowledgeable about rifles, but they aren't very knowledgeable when it comes to the variety of handguns. So that's why when I wrote Magnum Creed, I focused on like different handgun stuff for people who are just getting into guns or not that familiar with them. Um, and I'm not saying I'm a handgun expert, but I did like enjoy doing research and stuff for the book. But the rifle thing, and that's fascinating. I'm not saying the rifles aren't fascinating or whatever, but I do notice that a lot of people, they have a very limited view when it comes to handguns. A lot of people, because they're selling 9 millimeter and because it's the most popular round, um, most of the handguns they're selling come in 9 millimeter. They don't take the time to look very deep into other handgun calibers, other types of handguns, familiarize themselves with the different capabilities and the different stuff, because in their world, 9 millimeter does it all, or and they have to study all the selling points on 9 millimeter because that's what's selling. Why would they look into other stuff when they're not even carrying it? And that's something to really note. Even though, when things are limited or whatever, so they don't have the interest in trying to push other things on you. Like I said, because a lot of times they want to sell the stuff that they know is going to sell, and they're going to resell and sell more of it. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy the content that comes in moving forward. I think it'll be very informational, very useful for business, like I said, for political things, for love, and even relationships. I want to make all of that um, so that it's important for people. Thanks for tuning in, and God bless you.